Welcome to SVG-TV News and Sports for Friday, February 21st, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The Ministry of Agriculture is seeking to revitalize the National Land Bank program. This was announced earlier today at a media briefing by Minister of Agriculture Saboto Cecil. According to Cecil, since the on-lending process began through the Credit Support Facility, they have noticed that many farmers have gone back to the lands, which he says is an excellent sign, which also means there will be an increased demand for lands.
The availability of land is such that it is one of those factors of production that is not increased at the possible rate as labor can increase or even capital can increase. There are many acres of lands in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which are not currently being farmed, and the Farmer Support Company very soon will be having a series of consultations with several farm owners to bring more acreage, which is in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, under production.
Minister Cecil noted that farmers looking to expand their agriculture production by increasing the acres can seek credit from the Farmer Support Company.
These monies will be provided by way of a loan at 2%, and public workers with the government, they can access these monies as well, because I know that the question was raised as to whether or not persons who are employees with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whether or not they can access these loans. The answer is yes, they can access these loans. So once the monies are available, the Farmers Support Company is also addressing the issue of labor to ensure that it is properly synchronized, and we are also addressing the issue of the availability of land. We have had several requests from individuals who are entering the agriculture sector for the first time, and one of the major issue is that they want lands. So we're going to make it a veritable one-stop shop where you could come and make the application for the loan, you could make the application for farm workers, and you can also make the application for land.
Meanwhile, there will be an increase in the number of extension officers in the various farming communities for the next few weeks. Minister Cecil at today's media briefing says the extension officers who are assigned at each venue for the meetings held on Tuesday to discuss the $6 million credit support facility will be working in these districts for a period of 2 months to ensure that they have a successful start to the program.
Therefore, what we had last week is the beginning and the start of a greater appreciation and bonding between the farmers and the extension staff. And the farmers can rely on the Ministry of Agriculture to continue to provide that level of support throughout the entire on-lending process, so that we can facilitate the expedient implementation of the project.
Cecil noted that a new form was released today, which is the application for the newly introduced Farm Labor Program, which falls under the $6 million credit facility.
It is only obvious that with $6 million being made available on credit to the farmers, that there will be an increase in the demand for farm workers, farm laborers. We want to ensure that the process is properly structured, properly managed, and consequently properly implemented. Therefore, persons who are interested in registering for these programs, for this program, they can collect the farm labor form from the extension officers and from extension offices. These forms will be filled out just in the same way that the forms for the credit facility were completed, and they will be returned to the extension officer, who would pass these forms on to the company.
And as a way of increasing Arrowroot production here, farmers are being given the opportunity to purchase rhizomes at $1.25 per pound. That's according to manager of the Arrowroot Industry Association, Cauldric, Browne, speaking at today's news briefing. Browne says they have received 75 requests from farmers to plant arrowroot, and the ministry has come up with a plan which he says will be quite efficient.
All sale of arrowroot plants will be done from one location, from the factory at Oya. In this way, we'll be able to manage it effectively rather than having several locations where farmers could go and purchase rhizomes. I hope that would not create a problem for the farmer, but we'll try our best to see how we can assist with transportation to the farm if need be.
According to Browne, thus far they have been seeing very good rhizomes, and they hope the trend will continue throughout the harvesting season.
We have better yields, and you could see the size of these rhizomes. We are hoping that next year we'll be able to better this, and that farmers can move the average yield up to 15 to 20,000 pounds per acre. Once this is achieved, then we could say, well, we are moving agriculture forward. It is not hard, it is not a difficult task to do. We know the problem, they were not applied inputs on time, but with the $6 million project that provides credit for farmers, I'm hoping that farmers would capitalize on it and apply inputs on time to the crop.
With an approximate cost of $80,000, the Cumberland Integrated Watershed Project, along with the National Parks, Rivers and Beaches Authority website, were officially launched earlier today in Kingstown. Director of National Parks, Andrew Wilson, says the Cumberland Integrated Watershed Project is extremely critical as it allows the authority to fulfill a very important mandate, the National Parks and Protected Area System Plan.
Section 4.1.11 in particular, where it states that the integrated watershed management approach is recommended as a way in which to effectively address environmental issues. It also went on to state that the institution should seek to coordinate efforts of major stakeholders in the development of an integrated watershed management plan for those watersheds that influence the integrity of protected areas. Our very legislation, the National Parks Act of 2002 and Revised Amended Act 2010, also in specific areas to this mandate, would have indicated that our focus should also be on biodiversity conservation, forests, rivers, flora and fauna, as they all have an important role to play on the social and economic well-being of our people and benefits many socioeconomic sectors.
Wilson says the project is funded by the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, the CDF, where they received a grant of just over $77,000 to make the 13-month project possible.
Overall, the project value with other local in-kind support is valued at just over US $114,000. I believe a project such as this, which essentially involves addressing the planning and management of an entire geographic space from the uppermost mountain areas right down to the coast or to the sea, as part of a watershed, although overdue, is timely. Clearly overdue as a watershed approach, although not widely used in our part of the world, perhaps due in part to the very involved and in-depth work required, but timely as we have seen from Hurricane Thomas to the recent December 24-25 floods 2013, that events such as these impact tremendously on all aspects of life and livelihoods, and on our physical as well as our natural assets in several geographic areas of our country. So it must tell us of a need to be more proactive in our land use planning.
Meanwhile, Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Cecil, who was charged with the responsibility of declaring the National Parks website officially opened, used the opportunity to congratulate the authority for a good job over the past few years.
I think previously we took these national treasures and resources for granted, and the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in its vision going forward, we made the decision to establish the National Parks and Rivers and Beaches Authority so that they can have a focused approach to the protection and development of these national resources. And A few years later, I think that we can all agree that we can look back and now say with pride as Vincentians that we have a number of these facilities that are outstanding and that accommodate, facilitate visits by Vincentians, returning Vincentians and visitors to our country. This is a very important, critical component of the development of the tourism product here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
An official funeral service was held this afternoon for the late Clement Noel, former clerk of the House of Assembly. His body was at the House of Assembly throughout the morning period for viewing by officials of government, the opposition, members of the judiciary, and former members of parliament. The viewing wrapped up with members of the general public. The funeral service was then held at the Caliaco Anglican Church. Noel served as clerk of the House of Assembly from the 5th September 1975 to the 2nd of January 1990. Opposition leader Arnhim Eustace says he has no knowledge of Vincentian passports being unaccounted for during the new Democratic Party administration. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves said that on his arrival to office in 2001, there were some 350 Vincentian passports that were unaccounted for at the mission in New York. But at a press conference on Wednesday, Eustace told members of the media he is not aware of any unaccounted passports.
I'm hearing that for the first time now. That's something I'm not aware of at all.
Prime Minister Gonsalves said on Tuesday because of the unaccounted passports, his government took the decision to stop the issuing of passports at all missions.
My government decided that the issuance of the passport should take place down here. You can fill out the forms, they can certify them up there, but you have to send all the documents down here. And there is a process in which it is done. In fact, there are 5 checkpoints in St. Vincent in the issuing process for the passports.
A prominent member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Caribbean is advising governments who are advocating the legalization of marijuana to think twice. Speaking to members of the media yesterday, Dr. Clive Dottin, who is here for a conference, said he has been to international countries where the drug is legal and has seen the effects.
I want to advise folks in the Caribbean who want to legalize marijuana, for example, that they should look at the experience of the pot cafes in Holland and also the Needle Park experiment with hard drugs in Switzerland. So that I think we have to be concerned about the issues of the postmodern influences in our society. At the same time, however, we must understand we're living in a plural society and we must have respect also for people's convictions. I think I have to underline that, respect for people's convictions. Hate must not be involved in the dialogue.
Approximately 80 delegates from across the region are here for a 3-day international conference on religious liberty, the law and international security. The conference opened last evening at the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Kingstown, attended by politicians and members from various religious organizations. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister of Ecclesiastical Affairs Maxwell commended the SDA mission for bringing to the front burner issues of religious freedom.
We are living in a Christian society. I should say, predominantly Christian society. The church, accordingly, has the mandate to preach the gospel, and we sometimes take this for granted.
Charles noted that over the years, there has been the observance of secularism creeping into the Vincentian society.
So what some people say today is that your religion, yes, you can belong to religion, but you're not free to practice it except in the confines of perhaps your home and your heart. How do we as Christians relate to the state? Who should have the last say on certain moral issues? These are questions we need to ponder. Culture, we're fast becoming multicultural. Our borders are becoming more and more porous as people of different faiths and different beliefs come into our countries of the Caribbean.
Oswald Robinson has been re-elected unopposed to lead the St. Vincent and Grenadines Teachers Union for another term. The elections were held yesterday afternoon at the Thomas Saunders Secondary School. The other elected members are First Vice President Sheldon Govaya, Second Vice President Kent Kane, and General Secretary Margaret Lewis Jackson, whose position was also unopposed. The Assistant General Secretary position went to Jane Farrell, Treasurer Vibert Lamking, Public Relations Officer Wendy Bino, and committee members Sharon Doyle and Maxwell Jones. The 18th biannual convention of the Union will take place on the 14th April 2014 at the Georgetown Secondary School under the theme Quality Education, a Collaborative Approach. At that event, the new executive of the Union will be installed. Retailers of alcohol who default in paying their liquor license will be prosecuted. That's the warning issued from the Office of the Central Police Station, under whose portfolio checks are carried out to ensure people who engage in the sale of alcohol pay their liquor licenses. According to a media release, the office says it is seeing a trend where there are too many defaulters of liquor license payment, and as a result, the police will be taking steps to clamp down on this situation. The CPS is reminding the public that it is an offense to sell intoxicating liquor without a license. Business operators with the wrong liquor license are also asked to get it corrected, noting that there are cases where a restaurant may have a Class 3 license when it should actually have a Class 6 or 8 license. The local Girl Guides Association will join 10 million members worldwide to celebrate World Thinking Day tomorrow. Each year on the 22nd of February, Girl Guides and Girl Scouts around the world celebrate World Thinking Day, which is an opportunity to celebrate international friendship, learn about and take action on important issues. This year, the theme for Thinking Day is the UN Millennium Development Goal 2, Achieve Universal Primary Education. Chief Commissioner for SVG, Rachel Browne Matthias, says the theme is important given the trust towards education here. Notably, the World Association has chosen SVG as a focus country for World Thinking Day activities 2014 from its 145 member countries. To celebrate the occasion, the SVG Girl Guides Association will host its annual parade through the streets of Kingstown tomorrow from 1:30 p.m., followed by a church service at 3 p.m. at the Methodist Church Hall.